Welcome to part 6 of the Blake Lively 30-point document series. So you can find all the rest of the points that I've done so far on my playlist on my channel. So I will show you where you can find it. Once you go to my channel, Bocce Go Hawks, you would just need to click on playlist and it would be right there. It's called the Blake Lively 30-point document series. Makes sense, right? So let's jump into part 6. Point 6 says no more jokes or disparaging comments to be made to BL and or her employees about HR complaints Wayfarer has already received on set or about quote unquote missing the HR meeting. So thankfully, this one actually has a few more references than point 4 and point 5 combined. As I was getting prepared for this, it just made me realize that there is such an interesting angle around the HR complaints. And so if people are interested in me doing a video on that, feel free to make a comment on this video, letting me know that's something you're interested in, as well as subscribe to me if you want to continue to see videos like this. Because the CRD and the first complaint that Blake Lively filed in the Southern District of New York have the same information, just different paragraphs, I am just going to show it from the CRD. There are two paragraphs that deal with this specific allegation. The first is paragraph 57 that says Wayfarer, Mr. Baldoni, and Mr. Heath received or were aware of a number of HR grievances regarding their conduct. I want you to really pick up on this received or were aware. And there's a reason I believe that she made sure that it was or were aware instead of actually received. I think that is important to point out because there was a point in time that even Blake Lively supporters thought there was an actual HR complaint, like genuine HR complaints that were filed. And there weren't. The only one that was ever filed was with a sound mixer. And so it was very interesting how, like, people's perception of, oh, well, it's okay that she didn't actually do an HR complaint because even if you were just aware that there were complaints. For example, on the first day of filming, while attempting to hug Miss Lively's employee, Mr. Heath said, I don't even know if we're allowed to do this. It's day 1 and we have an HR report already. Now, I find that incredibly interesting, right? Because Blake Lively has given the impression that the reason she never filed an official HR complaint was because she didn't know how to do it. And yet here she is saying on day 1, somebody else knew how to do it, which begs the question if she's the one who missed the HR meeting. I think one of the biggest reasons Blake Lively's lawyers put received or were aware of a number of HR grievances was because they knew there was one actual HR complaint that was received, so that's one, and that there were complaints that Blake Lively made and spoke with Ange Giannetti about on May 26th. So, yes, and they dealt with that once they were told. They dealt with that. And I'm not going to get too far gone from just the text right here because I think that has to go with the HR complaints video, that if y'all want me to make it, just let me know in the comment section. Because as I was preparing for this, I was like, oh my word, this could be a video in and of itself. The next one is paragraph 44. It says, on another day, Miss Lively wore a low-cut dress to facilitate breastfeeding, but had it covered up with a coat. When the jacket briefly popped open at one point to reveal the dress, Mr. Baldoni commented about how much he liked her outfit, which flustered Miss Lively. Later that day, Mr. Baldoni pressured Miss Lively, who was in her pre-approved wardrobe, to remove her coat in front of the crew and multiple background actors in a packed bar. He said he wanted to see her onesie under the coat because it was zip low to reveal her lace bra. Consistent with past practice, he says, I think you look sexy, in a tone that made her feel ogled and exposed. With other female cast present, she said, that's not what I'm going for. He bristled and replied, I'm sorry, hot. Deeply uncomfortable, Miss Lively said, not that either. Mr. Baldoni responded sarcastically, I guessed I missed the HR meeting, and walked away. Another woman on the production spoke to Miss Lively afterward to offer empathy and to share her own similar experiences with Mr. Baldoni, commenting about her in sexual terms. So I want to keep that in mind because the first amended complaint, which also is the same with the second amended complaint, adds an additional story, which is the same story as this one, but kind of almost makes it sound like it's a completely different situation, but it's exactly the same situation, which is this paragraph 44. It said in the meantime, following through on her prior text, the female cast member also had her managers contact Miss Gianetti to discuss that cast member's own discomfort with behavior by Baldoni and Mr. Heath and its negative impact on the work. The remainder of the text exchange shows how both women shared concerns about speaking up and the potential consequences of doing so. Miss Lively shared that she needed to tread carefully to salvage some degree of chemistry and camaraderie with Justin, who's not only my director, but love interest. And we're not even a third of the way done with filming. I will say, always felt like the phrasing of that statement was weird. And I know it's a side note, it's not the point of this video, but I will just say there's a very weird dynamic in what she said when she says Justin's not only my director, real life, but love interest. That is supposed to be a character thing. So if she were to just be staying in reality, what she would have typically said was Justin, who's not only my director, but also my co-lead. It is a very weird statement to me to say Justin, who's not only my director, but love interest. Because that melts reality with a character phrasing. And I know people might be like, please, we get what she was trying to say. And it's not that I don't get what she's trying to say, but throughout this process, Blake Lively has kind of melted reality with her character. Like she hasn't differentiated enough sometimes for my own comfort, to be honest. She says the two women then recounted their discomfort with their experiences with Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath, including one incident in which Mr. Baldoni secretly recorded them, which we know is him filming the rehearsal. And another in which he made an unwelcome remark about the female cast member's wardrobe. That was Jenny Slate and the leather pants. Miss Lively noted that Mr. Baldoni once asked her if he crossed the line. This is the sexy comment in the bar that we just read about in the original complaint. And when she said yes, he made a joke that he must have missed the sexual harassment meeting. So just want to be clear that this is the same situation that was what we read in the original complaint. But the difference is it's the sexual harassment meeting rather than HR meeting, but it is exactly the same one. And you see that in the footage that was made available to us. So because this particular situation is used in multiple points in her 30-point document, I'm going to try to laser in with a specific allegation around the meeting comment, right? And so for this reason, I am actually not reading anything in any of their complaints because they actually never brought up that portion in their complaints. So this is Alex Sachs' deposition. And they ask, as you sit here, do you have a recollection of what other comments Miss Lively raised concerns about during the meeting with you, Mr. Heath, and Mr. Baldoni? So this is the June 1st, 2023 meeting in the trailer. Alex says, I don't. And the question is, at 9:42 a.m., you wrote, as read, the other piece was that she was like, you, Jamie, made jokes about how you can't make eye contact with people anymore, as if to undermine and lessen the importance of people not wanting to be comfy, cozy on set. Do you see that? And she says yes. Question, what do you recall Miss Lively sharing with regard to that statement? Answer, there was a lot of hugging and touching amidst the Wayfarer team. It's just seemingly sort of how they do business and interact with each other. And it sounds like she was referring to how sometimes the guys would make jokes about how they couldn't do that, but not really that the joke would be, can't even make eye contact with people anymore. And she used that as an example to say everything is too comfortable on set. Can we make it more professional? Question. In your view, the comment that Miss Lively raised about Mr. Heath and Mr. Baldoni joking that you can't make eye contact with people anymore, did you view that to undermine and lessen the importance of people wanting to be comfortable in the workplace? Objection. Answer, yes. Did you think it was appropriate for two men in charge of the production to joke about not being able to make eye contact with people anymore? Objection. No. Why not? Objection. Because that's not how a workplace or the leaders of a workplace should operate. They shouldn't be making light of the behavior that makes their employees uncomfortable. And in your view, Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath were making light of behavior that made people uncomfortable in their workplace through that joke. It reads more general to me that just you can't do anything in the workplace anymore and not get in trouble than maybe more reflective of their own behavior. In your view, does that kind of comment create an environment in which employees would be comfortable coming forward with concerns? Objection. About the behavior of their bosses? Objection. Sorry for stepping over your question. I'd ask you let me finish, please. I did, and I said objection, and I apologize for stepping over your question. I'll re-ask. I'm sorry. She already apologized, and the other lawyer still got snipey. Oh, my word. You could tell how tense the room must have been. Question. In your view, does a comment joke about how you can't make eye contact with people anymore create an environment in which employees would feel comfortable coming forward with concerns about the workplace? Objection. It does not make employees feel comfortable. So for Justin Baldoni's deposition, it's going to focus around him saying that he missed the sexual harassment meeting. And this is what he said. When did you last watch that scene, that recording? January, maybe. You didn't mention anything about missing the HR meeting. Did you say anything about missing the HR meeting? Justin says, yes, I did. In response to Jenny Slate's kind of, as I mentioned earlier, joke, as she was saying, we don't say that anymore. I immediately responded and I said, I guess I missed the sexual harassment meeting. Did you miss the sexual harassment meeting? That's why I made the joke, because I did not miss the sexual harassment meeting. So Justin said that it was a joke that Jenny Slate said. But I think Jenny was probably serious, right? And this is something that her and Blake talked about in real time to reflect like Blake felt supported by like Jenny Slate saying something in that moment. And Justin does roll his eyes about it. However, he also felt horrible and kept apologizing, which turned off Blake Lively. She didn't like that he kept apologizing over it. She just wanted him to move on from it. And she says she felt worse for actually bringing it up just because he couldn't let it go. But anyway, so I found that interesting. But let me share with you the video to jog y'all's memory about it all. And I'm not going to give commentary. I have thoughts on it, right? But I'll just let y'all decide what you think in it, right? Because in it, I see things that Blake Lively said that I don't think matches what happened. And I also see things that Justin Baldoni chose not to bring up in his original complaint. And didn't even bring up in his deposition until he was asked about it by the lawyer. So you can find this on docketupdates.com. So this is bar video. BL needs a toothpick. Docket number 959, exhibit 281. So I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it's 8 minutes and 37 seconds. So I'm not going to be doing that. You can watch the whole thing on docketupdates.com. Instead, I'm just going to play kind of just a portion of their interaction together.
He was sitting there on the stool. Thank you so much.
Ready, everybody? We really should go, please. So, again, who's going to watch everything here? A wall comes in, right? So please make sure that nobody's standing right here, please. Okay. All right. We should go. Ready? Toothpick, please. Viv, do you have a toothpick?
Yeah, right here.
Thank you. Whatever you do, you're always pantomime talking to one another. You're always saying something, right? About the game.
Yeah, I'm going over there. Next class on.
All right, we should go.
The last thing we're going to look at is the response by Blake Lively to the Rule 56.1 statements of undisputed facts. So 115 is the paragraph that she responds to. It's all redacted because it's all her deposition. And she responds back, undisputed, that Baldoni used the quoted words, but otherwise disputed as incomplete and misleading because the cited testimony omits critical context. On May 23, 2023, while shooting a bar scene in the presence of crew and multiple actors, Baldoni pressured Lively to remove her jacket to expose the partially unzipped onesie she was wearing underneath that revealed her lace bra. Lively removed her coat and looking at her, Baldoni said, "Pretty hot." And then redacted. And Lively responded, "That's not what I was going for." Baldoni responded stating, "Sexy?" To which Lively responded, "Neither." And then it's a bunch of redactions coming from Slate's testimony, and then another redaction. And then Baldoni responded by rolling his eyes and stating, "Sorry, I missed the sexual harassment training before." And then she redacted that. Now, she claimed that before that he walked away. I don't know if that's what she's still going to claim here, because you can see in the footage he didn't actually walk away. So at least not as immediate as she gave the impression of. And so I don't know why she redacted it here when we've seen her write that in her lawsuit before, unless she changed what he did. So what are my final thoughts? Well, one of my first final thoughts is about Jamie Heath and when he hugged Lively's employee. If it is true that he said, not facetiously, not as a joke, that there was already HR complaints and he wasn't sure if he could hug her, then that tells me that Blake Lively should have known how to put in an HR complaint. And her allegation that she did not know how to do it would fall flat, because how is she claiming that there was someone who knew how to make an HR complaint and did it prior to even the start of filming, and that there were all these other numerous HR grievances that were made? If they were formal, then that means there was a process because other people knew how to do it. So that's my first thought. My second thought is around the allegations that they were making light about the fact that they couldn't even look at people anymore. Why was that the joke that he was making? Is it because when the whole trailer thing happened, that was what he did? He looked you in the eyes and you had a problem with that. Is it because of that? Either way, it's not right if he said that, like made light of the fact that, okay, you didn't like him looking you in the eyes. But my question then, Blake, is if he looked you in the eyes and that's why you took offense to that, and he started making a light of it and saying, like, I guess we can't even look people in the eyes. Again, not appropriate. He should not say that. He should not make light of something that you thought was serious. But then that tells me he wasn't ogling your breasts as much as you were saying that that's what was happening. Because then he wouldn't be making a joke about looking you in the eyes or looking at anybody in the eyes. Now, that's my second thought, right? These things are associated with other allegations she's made. So when she's sharing this story about this allegation, it eats away at another story she had. If that's true, then wait a minute. doesn't that eat away at what you were saying about this other allegation? So I think I'm wrestling with that kind of stuff. My third and final thought is that Justin Baldoni made a mistake around joking about the sexual harassment meeting. And I think he knew it. And he felt uncomfortable with the fact that he did it. And the reason I say that is because he admitted to it when asked directly, but they never provided that information in the complaint. Now I can understand that the reason they may not have done it is because it was actually Jenny Slate he was talking to when he said that line, because she's the one who made a statement that he was responding to. But he also included things that he didn't necessarily need to include about the toothpick, right? But he included that, but he didn't include the line about the sexual harassment meeting, about missing it. He doesn't say that he rolled his eyes. You know what I'm saying? So that, I think he does feel like he stepped in it and he shouldn't have done it, and he felt bad about it. And so that begs the question that other people might have. Is there times that Justin Baldoni doesn't offer up information because he knows it's bad or would look bad? And what does that mean? Kind of situation, right? With that said, the description of what happened that day was closer to what he said happened overall than what Blake Lively said happened. So at the end of the day, he was talking about the heat of the bar. Now he actually walks this back in his deposition and does like corroborate Blake Lively's retelling of it, but you literally hear him saying, I think it's pretty hot. And it's clear that he's talking about the bar, not about Blake. I know that there will be people that will disagree with me about having issues with the fact that he omitted that in his own complaint and then didn't even say it in his deposition until he was explicitly asked about it. It's not a good look for him to make a joke about missing a sexual harassment meeting and then rolling his eyes about it after someone backed up another colleague about not having him say the word sexy. I think he learned his lesson and he never did it again, and he says that, right? And he did really feel bad because he kept apologizing, which drove Blake Lively bonkers. She hated it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I just think that Justin put his foot in his mouth. I think he did everything he could after the fact to fix it, despite Blake Lively acting as if he didn't try to make up for it. There's definitely proof that he did, which she actively ignored and did not acknowledge in her own complaint, which, if we're talking about omitting things, Blake Lively has omitted things on her side as well. So definitely like not a KO by any stretch of the imagination for Justin, but I'm just being honest about how I feel in regards to he probably shouldn't have made the joke. He shouldn't have rolled his eyes. I mean, that it is what I feel. If you resonated with anything I said in this video, even if you didn't agree with everything 100%, feel free to like this video. Subscribe to me if you want to continue to see these videos. And also, if you want me to do a video that's specifically about the HR complaints, please let me know, because I think it would actually be quite interesting, but I want to know if this is something that y'all would be interested in watching. All right. Thanks. See you next time.